This episode of the We Like Shooting Show is brought to you by Second Call Defense, Manticore Arms, the Sonoran Desert Institute, Facts on Firearms, the Patriot Patch Company, and Brownells.
Welcome to the We Like Shooting Show, episode 311. Tonight we're going to talk about Grey Ghost Precision, narrow arms, all kinds of politics stuff, and more. Our panel tonight is River's Edge Tactical's Jeremy Posderick. We have live from AOC's latest rally at Savage 1R, the Machine Gun Moses, Aaron Krieger's here, the can slinger of Bellevue, Nick Lynch. My name is Sean Heron, and I want to welcome you all to the show. All right, and before we get too far, we just released a video today. It was of our team building exercise, which basically was just us disappearing and never being heard from again in Washington from TriggerCon. Now, Nick, in that video, there's actual video footage of you slinging that first can at me, and every time I watched it, I was like, holy moly! Like, he overhand baseball pitched that into my side.
Yeah, I was like, oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah, why?
That was a lot more than I expected.
Why, though?
I mean, do you really want me to get into it?
I guess not. It just seems so mean when I was watching it because
it seemed pretty mean.
Like
yeah.
Overhand. Oh,
it was more than I intended for.
Yeah, okay, well, at least we have that. Like, you know, the not in my side withstanding. At least it was harder than he intended to hit me with a hobo's can of Monster.
Well,
and
you know,
that's not even the one that hit me in the face and sprayed AIDS in my eyes.
It turns out when you're moderately intoxicated, some of your motor skills are reduced.
And then what I'd forgotten about
is don't play baseball.
Right after that, Aaron knocked my hat off.
Yes.
Go to our YouTube channel and watch it. That's youtube.com/WeLikeShooting. All right, this is when we talk about Manticore Arms. I just published a little video over on our Instagram and Facebook pages of their night break. We absolutely love those things. And you can kind of see why in the video. It shows kind of a stop-motion video of me shooting the night break when we were at the range a couple weeks ago, and it just does not move. A little bit of rearward movement, but no up, down, left, right. And it was kind of awesome. We actually got through the spotting scope, or through the phone scope, that is, on the actual optic, just at 100 yards, just laying down hate on a steel target as fast as we could possibly shoot. And, you know, good muzzle devices actually help you with that kind of stuff. Go check them out, manticorearms.com. Coupon code is WLS10. Gives you 10% off all day, every day. And, you know, they want to see you there. Let's see. Oh. Nothing's working tonight. Aaron, nothing's working tonight. What do I do?
It's easy. Blame Nick.
Okay. Nick, stop messing everything up, would you?
That's what you usually do, so.
Okay, perfect.
Well, I mean, Nick did knock over all those monitors and break them. Remember that?
Yeah. Wait, what?
Monitors? Yeah. When did I break monitors?
You were like, oh, what's this over here? And then you knocked everything over in front of the whole screen, and we had to buy new monitors for the studio.
Wait, I thought it was Blame Canada.
Oh, no, you're talking about the speakers.
Oh, the speakers that...
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they're still on the floor, actually.
Yeah, there's no reason for them to be here. I don't even know why they were here.
I had them there for a reason. I just don't remember what it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, it is time to introduce our guest for tonight. Aaron?
Yeah.
Why do you keep muting?
I'm not. Well, I mute when I'm not talking.
I'm trying to talk to you, and you're just making it awkward.
I'm sorry. Hey, Sean. How are you?
And never mind. I don't want to talk to you anymore. Our guest tonight is the sales manager for Narrow Arms. Please welcome Bill Vidiello. Now, did I say the company name right?
Yes.
Did I say your name right?
Close enough for government work.
Perfect. I was like, I've seen it 1,000 times. I've just never said it out loud, so I know I was going to mess something up. So, welcome to the show, man. Glad to have you here.
Thanks. I'm glad to be here. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Absolutely. So first off, let's just start. And what is Narrow Arms?
So we started as an OEM manufacturing company in 2013, making spare parts for a number of other manufacturers throughout the industry. Uppers, lowers, bulk carriers, slides, all that kind of stuff. But it started with the vision of making our own pistol. And that kind of started to really take off in 2017, mid-2017, with the N1 design that we're now releasing, which has now come fully to fruition. So I would say the short answer is we're a firearms manufacturer and we're just getting started.
Very nice. So let's talk real quick about how you got into firearms. Did you grow up with them, or was it something you found later?
Yeah, so I grew up around guns. I probably started shooting around 12. And my first gun that I bought with my own money, I was 15. And I guess technically my dad bought it, but it was an AK. It was a Wazzer 63, Wazzer 1063. Still have it. I mostly have it just because it's the first gun I ever bought. It's a total piece of crap. It's got a candid front sight, the whole gamut. But I've been shooting for a long time. I was in the Army for 5 years. I got out of the Army and I said, what am I going to do with my life? All I know how to do is shoot guns. And lo and behold, Reed Knight over at Knight's Armament was nice enough to take a shot on me. So I did sales over there for a couple years. Left there, went to Rio Ammunition, which is a shot shell company here in Dallas. And then after I got tired of the trap and skeet world, I ended up talking to the guys here at Narrow, who are also former Knights employees, which is how I know them. And we kind of put something together, and I showed up here.
Very cool. So, I mean, it's got to be pretty hard to sell Knights Armament stuff, right?
Super, super hard. Yeah. Actually, it's like selling a Lambo. To the right person, it's a walk in the park. But to anybody who isn't in the market for a Lambo, it's kind of like, why would I spend $6,000 in this rifle?
Right.
But no, it's a great company. I love Knights.
That's very cool, man. All right, so you guys have brought to market now a pistol called the N1 from Narrow Arms. Let's talk about that. I want to talk about the journey here. So you mentioned that you guys were doing OEM stuff, and then you said with the dream of bringing your own pistol. Whose dream was that, and why didn't anyone slap them up front?
So Bobby Horan, and if you spell Horan backwards, it's Narrow. So there's your big reveal there where the name comes from. He's the owner and president of the company, and basically he's a pistol guy. I mean, he's through and through a pistol shooter, and so it's kind of his product of love for him to design his own pistol. He's worked for a number of other companies, including Knights. Never got to design a pistol at Knight, of course, because they don't do that. Not yet, anyhow. So it was kind of a project of passion for him to bring something to life. And I think, honestly, he just wanted to do something that isn't necessarily revolutionary or world-changing, but it's the best in this segment that it can be, is kind of where we're approaching it from.
Very cool. What segment would you say that is? Who's the target market for this?
Pretty much pocket pistols. So kind of our tagline is Narrow Arms, Never Alone. And by never alone, we mean we want you carrying all the time. Even if you're just running up to the gas station or you're walking the dog or stuff where, you're not going to strap on a G19 or something like that. You're probably just not going to carry a gun because, you think, why do I need to? But as we saw this weekend, you never know when something might happen. And so we kind of our philosophy is we want to make something that's small, light, robust, reliable, that you can just throw in your pocket anytime and always be ready.
Yeah.
And be never alone.
All right. Yeah, I like that a lot. Because, bringing a pistol to market, just ask Rob Pincus, is super difficult and it definitely takes a while. How long were you guys in development before you had the one and you were like, okay, this is the one we want to do?
Okay, so the first ideas have been probably decades old with Bobby. Really started putting things together late 16, early 17, and they had their first 3D model in, I want to say, August of 2017, and that wasn't a functioning model at all. It was just a polymer idea, essentially. And it's basically been since then that Nate and Bobby and these other guys in the engineering team have really sat down and worked out all the kinks and engineered all the different parts and everything. So it's been multiple years in the process of getting this thing off the ground.
Bringing stuff like this, totally. I've seen it from our side for sure. Talked to companies and known companies that have done it. It's definitely a big challenge. What would you say were some of the hardest things that you guys had to overcome in the process?
Obviously, there's teething issues. Probably the biggest challenge is, when you design a pistol, maybe you don't know this. When you design a pistol, you design the magazine first, and then you design the rest of the gun around that. Obviously, the question we get all the time is, does it use Glock mags? No, it doesn't. It's a proprietary magazine. So we designed our own magazine in-house, but we don't make the mag body or the mag spring. That's made by a third party. And so you have a lot of teething issues trying to get the right samples and get it to work with your design, and you have to adjust your design a little bit. And it's one of those types of back and forth, nonstop, trying to figure out what's going to work. Because at the end of the day, it has to be reliable. It has to function. If it doesn't have that, then who wants it, you know?
Yeah, totally agree. What are some of the, as the sales manager for Narrow Arms, what are some of the challenges you have of bringing a new pistol to market?
Well, obviously, it's a super flooded market space. I don't think anybody at Narrow is unaware of that there's plenty of other options out there. I'd say we're one of the best options at our price point. You know, your Glocks and SIGs are obviously at the high 4s to low 5s, and then you have your Ruger, SCCY, Taurus, Smith. All those stuff are on the lower end of the price spectrum, and not necessarily in the quality spectrum. Some of them are, some of them aren't. But I would say for the quality that we're delivering at the price point that we're delivering, I think we're kind of in a pretty good spot without too much competition at that exact point. Obviously, as a whole throughout the segment, there's lots of competition on the pocket pistol market.
Yeah, what is your price point for the pistol, for the N1?
So on the black model, it's $399, and on the stainless, it is $410.
Racist.
What?
Well, no, it's it just has to do with how much we don't want to sell stainless pistols. No, I'm kidding.
Glock 48.
It really has to do with the heat treat. The heat treat process is totally different for the stainless, and it actually takes more time and is a little more work intensive. So consequently, it just costs a little bit more.
Now, I think I read on the website or I saw somewhere that everything made in the U.S. or most of it's made in the U.S., if not everything.
100% made in the U.S., all the way down to the polymer case it comes in. The only thing that's not made in the U.S. is the pistol lock, the cable lock that's included, which is made by the same Chinese company that makes everybody's cable locks.
Right. No, that makes a lot of sense.
The gun itself is 100%. Yep, 100% made in the U.S. We make all of the machined parts in-house. The polymer parts, and obviously, like I mentioned, the spring parts come from third parties, but those are still U.S.-based.
That's actually pretty cool. How important was it for you guys to bring a product to market at a decent price point that was 100% made in the U.S.?
Yeah, so that was huge for us. It was really big for our owner, Bobby. It's something that we really wanted to make sure we hit because, as we know, I'm not going to name names, but certain companies buy their parts from India or other places. And we wanted to avoid that kind of reputation. We wanted to avoid the fact that you can't have eyes on your manufacturing process if it's in another country. Sometimes you can't have eyes on your manufacturing process if it's in their state. So, we wanted to keep everything as in-house as possible or as close to home as possible so that we had 100% eyes on or hands on the manufacturing process.
So we took your gun to the range, and you were gracious enough to send it out to us. I think once you realized what we were all about, you probably regretted that choice, correct?
No, I was excited to see what you guys had to do.
So we took it to the range. We did our first 100, 200 rounds through it, something like that, in our first video. What did we do?
Yeah, I don't remember. Something like that.
It was over 200 rounds. Like 135.
Yeah, so we released that video. Yeah, we released that video out there so far, and then at the end of the day, well, I guess we'll talk about that one real quick because we shot it and we liked it, and there was a lot of really good stuff about it. Now, one of the things we did was we held it up next to a SIG P365, and we're like, oh, look, it's kind of similar, except for the fact that it only looks like a P365 when it's not sitting next to a P365. So that was probably a little unfair. But when I saw it, I think Jen Jakes from Crossbreed Holsters is the first person who introduced me to it. She was wearing a shirt or had a koozie or something. And immediately it kind of piqued my interest, the red trigger and kind of everything else. But so we took it to the range. We had some fun with it. And that brings me to wanting to talk about the operation of the gun. Like, talk about some of the actual details of the firearm as far as, what kind of action it is and, just really like the operation of the firearm.
Yeah, so obviously the first thing and the most important thing is it's a double action only hammer fired. It's not a striker gun, even though it looks like one. It's got a fully internal hammer. One of the cooler things about it is that you have a full internal aluminum frame system, which runs the full length of the slide. So you've got full length slide rails there, and you can see it actually as you're holding it up there. Unlike a lot of guns, and I would say probably most guns in this segment, if you look at where the slide mates with the lower, there is no gap there. You can't see a single thing through that. It is tight, but it's still nice and smooth when you slide when you charge the slide. So I'll just give you the whole spec sheet here real quick.
Yeah.
You have a 416 stainless steel slide, a 4140 steel alloy barrel. You've got 7075 aluminum internals, trigger, and frame. And then everything else is, the same mil-spec grade polymer that everybody else is using. So you've got pretty much a brick house of a gun here. The thing is tough as nails. I haven't been able to break one yet. I don't know anybody who's been able to break one yet, and I'm sure you guys are probably going to do it for us. But
I'll break it.
Yeah, but Jeremy will just break it. He'll just be like, Hulk smash.
Please do. We want to see what it can take.
He'll be like, I couldn't take a bandsaw.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah, no, Jeremy would.
Yeah.
He breaks everything.
Oh, look, a torch cut right through it.
No,
it better be a great video.
So yeah, we took it to the range and we shot it, and then at the end of the day, it just happened to be swampy at the range, and in our pants, but mostly at the range, and there was just a lot of mud everywhere, and we were like, hey, let's just throw all these guns in the mud. So we did a secondary video so this show will actually come out on Thursday of this week. The podcast will come out on Thursday. On Wednesday, we're going to release the mud test. But I'll give everyone who's watching live a spoiler alert. So we did the mud test, and what I mean by that is we literally just threw them in the mud and then jammed them in the mud and kind of just washed them back and forth. And every single gun that we did had a barrel obstruction. So we cleared the barrel obstructions, but other than that, we didn't touch them at all. So the three that we did were the 6-hour P365, we did a Glock 43, and we did the narrow arms in-1. And like I said, I'm going to give a spoiler alert because the video is going to be out when the podcast comes out. The SIG P365, I think we gave the first place medal to, but the narrow arms in-1 was a very, very close second. Now, the only problem that we actually experienced during the mud test was that the trigger return spring, what's that called, Nick?
The trigger return spring.
Perfect. It wasn't strong enough with all the grit that was inside the frame to actually return that trigger up through the reset back to the beginning of the stroke of the trigger. That was literally the only problem that we had at all. I think I may have had one round that kind of nosedived out of the magazine because there was so much mud in it. I said mad. I think that was a Freudian slip.
Yeah, I was
because
confused
you were
and
making
alarmed.
a bunch of noise on a podcast. All right. Nick's mic is off
This
now.
is what it sounds like when the gun shoots.
No, it sounds like a normal gun. So it did really well. The Glock 43 did by far the worst out of all of them, which I thought was pretty interesting. Now, I think Glock 43 is a similar kind of size, at least in capacity. What's your capacity on these?
7+1, so we've got one more round than them.
Okay, so 7+1. And yeah, we were actually super impressed. I mean, a gun that's brand new to the market that you guys kind of brought from nothing except for an idea all the way out, and it did really, really well as far as that. Were you surprised by that?
Yeah, so the mud test blew us away because we've never done anything like that in house. Obviously, it's a pocket carry gun. We don't intend for anybody to go doing Rambo, combat drills with it. But the fact that it still ran, even though you had to reset the trigger manually, we're very impressed with, and we're pretty proud of that, to be honest.
Yeah, the video will come out, and it did really well. And honestly, I think that the N1 was dirtier than the rest of the guns. When I was watching the video today, I was like, well, that thing is like caked in mud. Caked, absolutely caked. Which brings me to the next thing I wanted to talk about was the actual takedown of it.
Is it cake?
No, it was not cake. I love cake. You know I love cake.
Right. So you said cake so often, I figured we were going to start talking about cake.
I'm on a diet, man. I haven't had cake in like months.
Dude, I saw you eat cake when we were on our trip in Seattle.
Cake?
Yeah.
Oh, well, when you're
You
on
must have been wasted.
dude, when you're on a diet, drunk cake doesn't matter. It doesn't mean anything.
Okay, that's like dating then, right?
No. Not at all.
just checking.
All right, so here we have the gun. When we had to take it down to clean it, we actually ran it through the dishwasher and then forgot about it in the dishwasher, so it ran through the entire heat cycle as well. And even though this gun has literally been caked in mud, stayed on it for 2 days before I had a chance to clean it all off, it's been through the dishwasher and through the heat cycle of the dishwasher, and everything's just fine. The mags still run free. So as far as the takedown, it's pretty simple. Lock the slide back, bring the slide forward, just pop it off. Doesn't require a trigger pull at all. Now, Bill, was that a conscious decision not to require a trigger pull?
Yeah, so because it's a double action only hammer gun, it kind of, the way that the mechanism has to work, that was going to happen either way. But yeah, that is something we definitely want to feature. A lot of people say, oh, it's not a big deal. You know, as long as you're handling your gun safely, it doesn't matter if you have to pull the trigger to remove it. And to some extent, there's truth to that for sure. But it's just a little bit of extra safety just in case, you know?
Yeah. And then as far as taking it down, so that's the field strip, but to actually take it down for the detail strip, which we had to because it was just, I mean, dude, there was just literally mud everywhere. So we had to pop one pin out, which is advance of the trigger, but behind the trigger guard, so kind of right between. We had to pop that one pin out, and then Nick, I believe that in the grip, the bottom of the grip, there's
the butt.
The butt of the grip. There's the pin and the spring, and you had to pull and twist that out. Correct?
Yeah, you got to pull the spring up. That pin slides out, and then it releases the main spring.
And then just a little bit of a chassis, and actually the serialized portion pops directly out of the polymer frame. Talk about that for us, Bill.
Yeah, so obviously we wanted to build something that was going to be robust, and that's a word I come back to a bunch. Basically, we wanted to avoid, and not that, I mean, obviously Glocks are brick houses too. Anybody that can break a Glock is pretty impressive.
Nick.
But they have a lot of plastic and metal interface there, and it does introduce potential weaknesses. So we wanted metal on metal all the way through, and obviously the best way to do that with a polymer frame pistol is to use an internal aluminum frame.
Yep. So we were able to pop that out, and then once we got that out, all the grit and grime that was down in there, we actually saw why the trigger wouldn't reset, because even after I cleaned it, it wouldn't reset, just a field strip. And it was because I needed to do a detail strip and take it all the way down. Yep. I was able to clean all that out, and then Nick had to reassemble it for me because I couldn't figure out how the hell that trigger spring worked. And then Nick got it all worked out, and then we put it back together, and it works just fine. I've had it out and shot it a couple times since then, and I got to say, man, like, you guys bringing this gun to market, it's done really well for us. We've really tried to make it stop working. We haven't tried to destroy it, clearly. You can see it right here. That's why I have it in my hand. I was like, because I know you've heard all the horror stories that I keep sending you. I'm like, and then we ran it over with the truck, and it was just fine. But nope, it's here. It's in perfect condition. Everything's just fine.
But while we have you here, let me go grab the Dremel.
Yes. So what kind of sights do you guys have on this thing?
So they're G43, G42 pattern sights, but they're not proprietary. They're an in-house polymer sight. Nothing special about them. We don't claim that there's anything special about them. They're just 3-dot white sights. They're good enough for the people who aren't interested in replacing them. But since I know on every carry gun I have, I put night sights on there. We basically figured, let's cut cost a little bit. We'll go with something that's effective but isn't flashy at all. And people are probably just going to throw them away anyhow. So yeah, there you go. You can pick up your favorite G43 sights and throw them on there.
So I did rack it. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say it's cool of you guys to choose a really popular pattern sight.
Yeah, there's no need to reinvent the wheel. And I get some people probably say, well, then why did you feel the need to reinvent the wheel with the magazine? Well, yeah, I get what you're saying. But something like sights, it's too easy just to make it a G43 pattern.
Yeah, no, I actually like that a lot. It makes a lot of sense. Talk about the trigger. It's very distinctive. It's a red, different kind of trigger shoe. What aesthetic purpose were you guys just like, you know what, let's make it, set it apart a bit?
It stands out, man. I mean, you ever go to a gun show and you're looking at a table 15 miles long of black pistols, and you're like, okay, I don't know what's what. Especially if you're a beginner, you're just looking at a bunch of guns going, okay, I don't know what's cool, what's not. But you see a red trigger, you're going to go, oh, this thing's pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. Now, Nick, why don't you talk about, so now that we're talking about triggers, the only thing that we didn't, what's the best way to say it? The only thing that we didn't absolutely love was just some of the trigger, but we were able to get used to it. So why don't you talk about that?
It's got a trigger, and you pull on it, you put your finger here, and you pull it to the rear, and it goes bang. And then you
what
let
was
go
the
of
characteristic
it.
that?
So since it is a double action only, but it's not a traditional double action only, right? The hammer is at like a preset half cock position. So when you pull the trigger, it's not as long or heavy as a normal double action trigger, but it is relatively long. And the weight's not bad. It is a very smooth trigger. We were both able to shoot really decent groups with it. The one complaint that we had, I ran into a couple of times, and it kind of tripped me up, and I think you ran into it a couple of times, is that when you let the trigger out, I'll put this up next to my mic so that people can hear it maybe, there's a click. That was probably too quiet to hear.
Yeah, I didn't hear it at all.
It sounds and feels like a reset, but it's not. And then you go out further, all the way, and there's another click, and that's the actual reset. So just like you had said before the show, we brought that up, and you said that's just kind of the nature of the mechanism. Definitely something you would get used to if you were shooting the thing a lot. It was our first time shooting the gun, so we were kind of new to it. Shooting it a lot, you'd get used to it. We're coming from also, like you pointed out, striker-fired pistols that have that real short reset.
And before I throw it over to you, Bill, I do want to say I carried the Sky CPX2 for like a year just on a dare. And that thing has literally one of the worst trigger pulls in the universe.
On a dare? Were you living on a prayer?
Yeah. The N1, actually, the trigger is so much better than that. And the only reason I even compare it is because the CPX2 is that double action only kind of trigger. But this one is way cleaner, way smoother, way lighter. But yeah, I did definitely want to bring it up because we mentioned the video. So, why not talk about it and kind of the choices behind it, the engineering behind it, and why it is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the other things people bring up a lot is that there's no second strike, which a lot of times when you see DAO, you think, okay, I can just keep pulling the trigger and it just keeps dropping the hammer. So there's actually two reasons we don't have that. One, as you mentioned, it's a super smooth trigger. And part of how we achieved that was not having that second strike capability, which requires more spring, all this other stuff. And it doesn't give you as nice of a trigger pull as what we have. And then the other thing is, if you talk to most of the trainers out there, what do they teach? Tap, rack, bang. They don't teach just keep pulling the trigger until it shoots. They teach if you have a failure, rack your slide and pull the trigger again. So that kind of forces you to train that way so that you're not thinking about just, it didn't fire, I'm going to keep pulling the trigger until it does, when it's probably a dud round. As far as double action and learning the trigger, I feel like it's been fairly easy to come from. I love my P10C. I've loved my G19 for years, so I totally get coming from a striker trigger into a double action only trigger. And there's definitely a slight learning curve there. I won't deny that at all, but I think it's pretty easy to pick up. You shoot a few hundred rounds with it, you're going to get it, and it's not going to be a problem.
So why even bother with a double action trigger if there's no second strike? Why not just make a single action hammer that has an even better trigger?
That is a great question. I will write that down, and I will get back to you on that.
my literal thought as I'm sitting over here is all double action only pistols are trash, and it should not exist.
But it's a hammer fired.
I don't care. It can be single. It can be single action and hammer fired.
Well,
look at the
yeah.
Western 380 EZ.
The
Look at
main
the
issue
1911.
The main issue, though, with a single action is you're going to have a way lighter trigger pull, more than likely. I'm sure you can engineer it to not have a light trigger pull, and with a pocket gun like that, you kind of want to have a heavier trigger pull so that you're not lighting one off into your thigh.
I disagree.
Jeremy disagrees with everything for the record.
And unlike the 1911, Jeremy, this gun has the hammer is hidden like a Creed, like a Walther Creed.
It's like a Smith & Wesson 380 EZ.
Is it? I don't know.
Those aren't striker fire. Those are hammer fired.
All right. What kind of magazines? It comes with two mags, right? We got two mags.
Yep.
And one of them has the finger swell or the pinky extension, and one of them is just a flat bottom magazine.
That's correct.
Now,
and they're both. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just say they're both 7-round mags. We are looking right now into developing a 9-round mag. We're trying to figure out whether we're better off to go with a full-on extended mag or just to develop a mag extension and sell those secondhand for people who want the extra capacity. But for now, it's going to be a 7+1 capacity, and it's and then you've got the flat base or the finger extension.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm digging it a lot. What does it have? A captured double recoil spring?
Yeah. So well, it's not captured. If you pull that pin out of there, you're talking about on the
not captured,
the slide.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you pull the guide rod out, it's not captured. It'll come apart.
Yep. I see
but it is a double spring.
Very cool. Yeah, I remember when we were shooting it. It was I liked it a lot, dude. We didn't expect to like it as much as we did, I believe. And again, made in the U.S., made with Glock 43 compatible sights. The trigger is super smooth, being what it is. And I got to say, I'm pretty dang impressed. And I think the mud test that's going to come out on Wednesday is even cooler. We had a lot of fun with it. Continuing to have fun to do our kind of full review on it once we get some more rounds through it, but definitely enjoying it. So, what do you think comes next? I mean, you have brought this now to market. You're shipping, right?
Correct. Yep, we're shipping to distributors now.
Very cool. So what do you think comes next for you guys?
So we've actually got a few other plans in the works. Nothing that I can really talk about yet, but pretty straightforward. There's going to be an N2, an N3. Hopefully we'll get to the point of an N500, but we're not quite there yet. So we've got a lot of ideas, and I think we've got some pretty innovative stuff going on that I think will be very impressive to the market.
That's awesome. One of the things that I really like the most about it is the ergonomics. I think when a lot of companies bring stuff to market, they don't. The bigger companies, they think about that stuff as they're going because they've got huge R&D departments and everything that goes along with that. But one of the things that I really loved about it, I mean, just from the indents at the very top of the grip, just to kind of create a little bit better of a spot for your hands. The ergonomics of it are really good. Nick, would you agree with that?
Yeah, it's comfortable in the hand. I like the texture on it.
Yep.
It's aggressive enough to give you a nice grip, but not so aggressive that it's going to tear you up carrying inside the waistband.
Yes, which is hugely important, especially with a carry gun. And I gotta say that some of the texture. Like my M&P 2.0, I love that gun, the compact, so much. But I might as well just wear sandpaper under my belt.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That sounds terrible.
Dude, it is awful. So
I tried it once. It was not cool.
It's got the texture on the frame underneath the slide, both where your index finger and your thumbs ride. It's just a really well thought out design, in our opinion. How much went into that, man?
Oh my God, man! They've got so many different drawings and models. Like I said earlier, just years of playing with this thing, trying to get it right, making small tweaks, small adjustments. Our owner Bobby is an absolute perfectionist when it comes to that sort of thing, and aesthetics were as important as function. And he really put some time into that. Nate put a ton of time into that. And I think it shows, as you're saying. I mean, it's a really nice looking gun, especially for the price point in that sector of the market. A lot of the guns aren't great looking.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like the Glock 43, ugly as hell.
I mean, it looks like all the other Glocks.
Ugly as hell.
True.
No, but yeah, we've been super happy with it so far. It did really well when we did some destructive testing with it. And I mean, honestly, this is probably the first one that's ever been through the entire cycle on a dishwasher. Which I don't know if that's a bragging point or not, but for us,
did you use scrubbing bubbles or Fabuloso? I need to know.
Which one? What'd you use, Nick? I wasn't there.
What do we have?
I don't know. It's probably like great value.
Yeah, I think it's like it's whatever the generic. I think it's the Costco one.
Oh yeah, and it's got like it's laundry detergent basically. It's the powder form that's in the
gelatin
packet. Yeah.
We
actually have GoPro footage of inside the dishwasher.
Yeah,
it's really not that exciting because it's dark.
I'll make sure to add that to our recommended dishwasher detergents.
Yes, the cost Kirkland. That's what it is.
Kirkland.
It's the Kirkland.
It did
brand.
not work. Did not work at all.
It didn't. Yeah, it did not work at all. But dude, honestly, the fact that this gun is actually still functional is surprising to me because I was like, oh god, we're gonna have to pay for this gun. And
I mean, I put your SIG and my Glock in there as well. So
I know, but we actually own those.
Yeah.
So it's if we destroyed them, I wouldn't have to be like, hey Bill. So that gun, we dug it. It's cool, but also, can you send me an invoice?
I put my trusty Surefire P6 in there as well.
Yeah,
and it survived.
You
the
did.
batteries were almost dead, but it survived.
Yeah. But yeah, man, we think that you're doing good work over there. We think that what you brought to market is definitely something that people will be interested in, especially made in the USA at the price point that it's at, and that's $399 MSRP, right?
Correct. Yep.
All right, that's awesome, dude. Where can people find you guys online, and where can they order them?
Yeah, so our site is obviously just narrowarms.com. We're on Facebook and Instagram, and right now we're just sending everybody to their local dealer to order through Amchar and RSR Group. We're trying to get into some of the online retailers. We're just not to that point quite yet, but I think in the next few months we'll be there.
Very cool, man. That's awesome. And that's Narrow, Naroh, arms.com.
Correct.
And I do want to apologize publicly for saying your name, the name of the company wrong in pretty much every video that we've done so far. But I blame Aaron.
Well, I thought it was pronounced Fafono. I know there's no F's in it at all, but I just assumed that, the F was silent because it wasn't there.
For Frono? Well, what?
Yeah.
Aaron,
yeah.
Are you smoking
What?
crack right now?
Not right this second. Come on, man. Come on.
That's awesome. Bill, thank you so much for joining us, man. You got to run, or are you going to hang out for a bit?
Yeah, I got a blast, guys. But I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely, man. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
And so we haven't destroyed it yet, so everything's still good.
Keep going till you do.
No, because then you'll send me an invoice.
Well, I need to sell guns. I'm the sales manager. Come on, man.
All right. Hey, thanks for
That's the best way
joining.
to do it. You guys destroy the gun, but I'm gonna still charge you. Go ahead, do it. I love it.
No, seriously. Thanks for sending it out, first of all, and thanks for coming on the show, man. We really appreciate it, and congrats on shipping your gun.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me on.
You bet. Talk
Thank
soon,
you.
man.
Yep, see ya.
All right, guys.
Thank you. Where's Savage?
Yeah, Savage left. Where'd
How long
he go?
ago?
Just a couple minutes ago.
Never heard of her.
I was hoping everyone would say, I don't know when he left.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm sure it says it somewhere.
Maybe.
I'm sure there's a log of it.
What if we just didn't care and we didn't look?
I was going to look, to be honest with you.
I don't care.
Jeez. Jeremy, when did you start hating Savage?
Right when I figured out he was a commie.
Well, I mean, we've only been calling him a communist for like a year and a half.
Mm-hmm. Something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to drink out of the bottle and it doesn't bother me at all because it's whiskey and it kills all your...
That's why I'm doing it, because I know you don't care.
When you threw the Hobo's Monster can at me, it gave me AIDS anyway. So at this point, like, what do I have to lose?
Your
foot.
Yeah, that's not how AIDS works, Nick.
No, but I mean, if someone cut your off, you'd be pretty sad.
Well, if someone cut my anything off, I'd be pretty sad. I get sad when I get a haircut.
So you said you have nothing else to lose. You have a lot to lose. I think we just established.
Well, I will say...
Well, he doesn't have that much to lose.
I will say that today... Shut the fuck up. I will say that...
If that was a worm, he'd be fishing for bluegill.
I don't understand that reference, but I'm going to laugh and smile like I do.
Because I fish for bluegill all the time.
All I'm going to say is
I don't fish for bluegill, but I got it. Come on, Sean.
Everyone else talk. I won't talk. That's fine. All right,
guys, let's talk.
Is that all this liquor and all the food today, of all days, tastes a little bit sweeter. That's all I'm going to say. And then let's talk about our friends over at Second Call Defense.
Now, for our defensive gun use of the week, sponsored by Second Call Defense, offering you complete protection for armed self-defense.
All right, so first off, guys, it's a crazy world right now, and Second Call Defense is incredibly valuable, and here's why. When you pull the trigger, and we've talked to people... Dude, we did a special episode, Aaron and I did, with Michael from Chicago, who used his firearm like literally a day after I saw him in lethal self-defense. And when we got him on, right before we were on, I brought Sean Maloney, our good friend, on. And Sean Maloney basically was like, look, this is what you can and should say. And Michael was like, oh, man, I didn't know that. And he was telling the truth the entire time, but there was just specific things that could have been used against him in a court of law. But he's like, oh, no, I'm a good guy. I did the right thing. I was totally in the right. Even the cops there that responded thought that he was in the right. But guess what? Once that gets to a DA, once that gets to, a supervisor at the cop shop, all those things can change, and that's kind of the big concern that we have. So it's extremely inexpensive, like $10 for their lowest plan, $40 for the most expensive. And if you ever have to use your firearm in lethal self-defense, you call 911, and your second call should be to Second Call Defense. And that's welikeshooting.com/SCD. Don't wait till it's too late, because then, Aaron, it's just too late.
Well, I was just going to say, it's too late then.
Yeah, it is. Quit muting.
It is.
This
Would you rather just sit here and listen to me breathe?
Sponsored by Second Call Defense, the most comprehensive protection for armed self-defense in America. Visit welikeshooting.com/SCD to find out how to get your first month free.
Your Savage, your connection is super strong.
It was really not being good. I got but spaced out over 5 minutes from you guys.
Oh, wow.
It's stronger than your political beliefs. Oh, communist. Okay.
Everyone back on Savage.
Something breadline.
Nice shirt, Savage.
That is a red shirt.
It is.
We earned this shirt.
We really did. Hey, guys, it's time to talk about the giveaways. Oh, God, we did. It's time to talk about the giveaway segment. WeLikeShooting.com/giveaways, where you can enter to win everything. We have the Patriot Patch Company, Kenna's Tactical Group, Black Rhino Concealment, Stoked Customs, and Blue Alpha Gear are all giving away stuff on the show. And if you want to enter to win all of them, WeLikeShooting.com/giveaway. Don't forget to check out Patriot Patch Company. That's patriotpatch.co. Coupon code WLS gets you 10% off all day, every day. And you know what time it is, Aaron?
What time is it, Sean?
It is time for me to find the correct audio and then hit the button.
You should do that.
I did.
You should do it faster. And quit muting.
Yeah, you quit muting.
I gotta mute. It's probably the most important thing that any of us should ever do when we're not talking.
Except for when I go to you and you're like, okay, I can talk now.
I'm here. I'm still here.
We got another show. Oh, go ahead, Nick.
I was just wondering if we could move this along. Come on, guys.
We got another show on Wednesday nights called Double Tap. It's in our same podcast feed, WeLikeShooting.com/show, or on iTunes, whatever. Wherever you subscribe, it's going to be in the exact same place. And we talk about stuff that's not guns. What did we talk about last week, Aaron?
We talked about what if we were characters from Futurama.
Yes, we did. Oh,
and we all agreed that Sean was Zaf Brannigan.
No,
Yeah.
You said that.
Yeah.
No, we all said that.
Everyone but you agreed. That
No,
you were.
Jeremy didn't say that I was Zaf Brannigan. No,
I don't think Jeremy count.
No, Jeremy said that I was Fry.
Would you
he
rather
did
be
not.
Fry than...
Yes, Zaf Brannigan is a pompous piece of.
Yeah, Fry's like
He's cool. He's a
the
loser.
dumbest piece of... Yeah.
Wait, and Nick's Leela, so that means
That I'm always right. That I know I'm always right.
No.
That I'm super preachy. That I have big...
Okay, literally nobody called Nick Leela. Literally,
I called Jeremy Leela.
I think there was a joke about it.
I called
maybe.
Yeah, I called Aaron, Professor Farnsworth, the old one, and he's like, "Good news, everyone."
I thought you called me Scruffy. I don't know, but you know what? If you really want to know what Sean called me,
You can
should
go
listen to the
Yeah.
show.
Go listen to the show.
I think we
download
all
it.
agreed that Savage was... why can't I never remember his name?
Nibbler.
His
No.
name is Savage.
No, his name was the lobster guy.
Oh yeah, Zoidberg.
Oh,
Yeah.
Zoidberg.
He's all, I'm so
Why
awkward.
not Savage?
Anyway, guys, it is time to talk about some gear. Now it's time for Gear Chat, brought to you by Faxon Firearms. So much good stuff going on at Faxon. Aaron, you're too close to your camera. It's freaking me out.
I'm sorry. Underneath there's like a gap between my because of all my monitors. I can see my security cams. I was just seeing what's going on outside.
Man, nothing's going on. You live in the middle of nowhere.
I know, but I saw a baby possum outside last night.
Oh yeah,
I took video and put it on my Instagram. Yeah,
it was actually pretty cute.
It was cute, man.
It would have been awesome if it sprayed you.
I don't think that's how possums work.
But my wife was so like, it's so dead. She's like, it looks like the devil. Possums are not cute. I mean, they're cute,
they're
but
not.
Baby possums are cute, but yeah, they're like those hollow eyes and that rat tail.
And they play dead.
I'm like,
and the teeth.
Right, and I'm like, next time I'll just go out there and shoot it. And she's like, just don't shoot it. Just don't let it near the house. I'm like, okay. It's a possum. What am I going to do?
Get away from the house. Get away from the house. No.
He's out there with a squirt bottle.
Mom said you can't come over and play.
Have you seen the whole thing with like American possums and Australian possums? Because apparently what they call a possum in Australia is like a really cute fuzzy animal, but all of the animals in Australia are like terrible death machines, right? But then our possums here in the U.S. are like horrible looking freakish animals. So it's like they got switched somehow.
Yeah, right.
What?
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this possum out here addicted to cigarettes.
Wow, the long con.
Right, it's an experiment. I want to see how this plays out.
That's very, very interesting. Anyway,
we got a deer addicted to tobacco.
That's terrible.
I can only imagine that possum. He's like, I can't believe where my life is gone. It's horrible.
Believe it or not, tobacco's actually very sweet to the taste for animals. Like you can frisk a cigarette out and give it to a horse, and they love it. It's like a treat. Smell a fresh pack of Marlboros. It smells like raisins. So we grew tobacco in our garden one year, and we would hang it up in a tree about deer height. And every day it was gone. And so you just go hang another couple of leaves up there. And eventually the deer was addicted to the nicotine and would always come back every day to the same tree. I just always feel bad that we killed that deer because eventually it had to go through withdrawals because we ran out. And,
that's terrible.
It's probably like shaking in a farm field somewhere and some coyotes got it.
Probably like eating Twinkies and it's like, I just need to fill the hole.
Right, it's just eating everything.
Right.
It's so bad.
Big fat.
Anyway, Facts and Firearms got a lot of stuff going on. Not only rifle barrels, pistol barrels, hand guards, uppers, lowers, the A-Rack, but also the FX19 pistols, the Patriot and the Hellfire. We got more video content coming out about those very soon, and they're awesome. I mean, look, and here's the thing, a lot of people will buy a Glock 17. And then they'll go get their slide machined and buy a threaded barrel and get their framework done from one of the many companies that does it. And that's cool and all. But a lot of people don't have, the time, the patience, whatever it happens to be to go get all that done, or even the money to do it. Whereas these pistols, they're done all that from the factory. So basically all you have to do is just go to their website, order it, and bada bing, bada boom, you're good to go. If you want to save money on that, coupon code WLS10 saves you 10% off your entire order, except for guns, and that code is WLS Guns and saves you money on the A-Rack, the FX19 Patriot and Hellfire, and the FX 5500, which is their lightweight AR-15 that you can get as well. Not a whole lot going on in Gear Chat tonight, except for some stuff that I picked up from my FFL today.
I did put some stuff in there, but you erased it.
Yeah, because
you didn't like it.
Dude, no, I like it. We've talked about it twice already. I don't think there's any.
I can talk about my camera lens and what I've been doing with
Okay, this is why I'm just talking about one thing tonight. So I got a couple boxes from Grey Ghost. I got a box from Grey Ghost Precision and a box from Grey Ghost Gear. I'll talk about the gear stuff, the nylon stuff later. But from Grey Ghost Precision, I got the Grey Ghost GGP-P frame. And this is a combat pistol frame that is basically done from the get-go. It is serialized, so it's not an 80%. A lot of people thought,
what's it?
It's a
I'm
ghost
sorry, I was
gun.
going to ask, what's it based on?
What do you think that looks like?
It looks like a Polymer 80.
I guess it does. I don't know if... I don't know at all. All I know is that this is a Grey Ghost Precision branded frame. It is their combat pistol frame. And... it looks pretty sick, man.
And it takes Glock-compatible parts?
Glock-compatible parts, yes, correct. It does come with the locking block and the trigger housing. All right, so got that in. Then, next up, got the Grey Ghost Precision Slide Completion Kit. So, I mean, it's just a slide kit.
It's a kit to help you get to completion.
Oh, I don't need one of those kits.
Okay.
Nick,
Because
why
got
do you?
the slide already covered.
And why does Nick know about this?
Dude, I was just like, what the
I've heard.
Okay, well, what your mom says doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. What your girlfriend says, though.
Wow.
Ooh.
Why are you talking to my girlfriend?
Are we
Nick?
talking about Gherkins again?
So anyway, got a Grey Ghost Precision Glock match grade barrel. It's a G17 style. So that's cool.
Wait, can I
Yeah. Take it. It's yours to look at. And then
I thought you were going to say it's mine to keep.
Grey Ghost Precision Slide. So I
Now,
picked
those
this
slides
one.
or something else.
Dude, they are pretty sick. Let me go ahead and whip it out.
I'm leaving.
Do they need like penicillin or a doctor or something?
No. So I picked this one specifically. So this is, let me get the box here. This is their Gen 3 version 4, and it's got the RMR cut and the slide and everything like that. But with these, it's like micro
Checkering?
checkering. Yeah. I don't remember specifically what he called it. But dude,
Is it called micro checkering?
so they actually have a bigger version of this, and this is new in the version 4. The texture that they have on the slide, feel that, dude. We messed with it
Yeah.
while we were at TriggerCon.
That's pretty aggressive.
and it is super aggressive, but also not overbearing at all.
No,
Like
I like it.
I think that you could grip that way better in serrations.
You should throw it in the mud and
Yeah.
see how much of a purchase you can get on that.
We will. That was actually one thing that we forgot to talk about with the guest, is that like the Glock, the SIG, pretty much once you fill that stuff with mud and get mud all over your hands, it was super hard to rack them. So I'm going to throw it in the mud and see what happens. So I've got some sights right here that I've had sitting on my desk for a couple days that I'll
Oh,
throw.
yeah?
I'm just kidding.
That's all right. Don't worry about it.
No, they're yours. As soon as your other stuff comes in from back order, I'll
No,
send it all.
don't even worry about it, man.
Dude, I have other sites. Don't worry.
Of course he does. He's got like a drawer of sites.
I actually do.
I'm like, hey, Sean, what about these? No, I'm planning a build for those ones. What about the? No.
So basically, all I need is a trigger, and I'm going to use the tactical pontoon trigger that I just got in for this. And then I think I need a couple parts, and I'll order the Glock parts from those. But this is basically going to be a Grey Ghost Precision build. Pretty much everything on
Honestly, that's a sexy looking gun right there. That looks beautiful.
it really is.
It is
man.
handsome.
The slides are super sexy, so I was pretty stoked to get it in. And I've been trying to get some Grey Ghost precision stuff in for a while, so I'm super stoked to finally get some. And again, it's
Say stoked again. Say stoked again.
I'm so stoked
Say
right
it.
now. I'm stoked.
Say it.
It's my word.
I'm
Okay,
stoked.
just checking.
Wait a minute. Do you remember that video about Stoked?
No. Are you going to stoke the
I
fire?
have no idea what you're talking about.
I love this this triangular window. Let me turn that towards the camera. On the top of the slide,
Let me see.
where it's typically like a square or round window that they cut in there. This one actually narrows as it grows closer to the front sight, which is kind of cool.
I wonder why is it called Grey Ghost?
Well,
That's an interesting name.
It's like a gray man, but
they were afraid that White Ghost would have negative implications.
Whoa.
Wow.
This is the video that I was talking about.
Racist.
Exactly. They were afraid it'd be racist.
Jesus Christ.
I'm Juliana McCannis filling in for Clifford Baines, who is playing Trivial Pursuit with his neighbor Gene. A recent report from the Shuttleworth Institute shows for the first time that more than half of college-age males say they regularly get stoked. Are young people ignoring the dangers of
Is
being
this the
stoked?
Onion?
Yes, kids as young as 17 or 18 are getting stoked over things as simple as snowboarding or finding $10 in their pants pocket.
I think
It's not
that's
safe.
horrifying.
It's dangerous and annoying.
I really think this is all being blown out of proportion. I mean, so what if a young man buys a pair of sunglasses, gets a little stoked, and then gives out a bunch of high fives. What is the harm in
well,
that?
Duncan, have you ever seen anyone who's stoked?
Yes, I have.
They're like, dude, try these nachos.
Oh, that's just so fun.
Yeah, one minute you're getting all stoked up about a weird-looking tree, and then the next minute you're chest bumping with some dude where both of you break your sternums and you're on your way to the emergency room.
No, but I mean, getting stoked is as big a part of growing up as living large or getting weirded out.
But there was an incident at the University of Michigan last year where a college sophomore became so stoked after finding his favorite sweatshirt behind a chair at his friend's house that he remained stoked for 52
That
hours.
was a frightening story. I mean, apparently he was just telling...
Anyway, the dangers of getting stoked.
Well, I was really into that. I'm sorry.
Dude, it's such a good video, man.
That's the onion.
I was just
right?
thinking about all the times that I got stoked in my life, and Jesus, I'm lucky to be here today.
Yep, 100%. But anyway, I am pretty stoked to get all the Grey Ghost Precision stuff. And man, dude, the nylon stuff, did you see it in the office, Nick?
No.
Holy we got an SBR bag, we got a range bag, we got another pack, all kinds of good stuff in there.
Yeah.
So anyway, check them out, greyghostprecision.com. And I brought the invoice in here so I could check it out. So it looks like the frame is, and this is serialized, don't forget, not 80%, is $169.99. No, the slides are pricey. It's $418. And the barrel $179. The slide completion kit $90. So for all that stuff, minus only a trigger and a couple parts for the frame, was $858. And I dig it, man. It's good stuff. We've been doing a lot of Gucci Glock stuff, and this is more along that. I cannot wait to post it. It's going to be so sexy. Aaron, is it going to be sexy?
Dude, I'm stoked to see the pictures.
I'm so stoked that you weren't muted that time. Does any Jeremy, how's the range going?
Pretty good.
What have you been selling most of lately?
Mostly small concealed carry handguns. Sold 43X, 365 XL. I get a 365 in. It doesn't hang around for long, so I usually order 2 at a time. 43X, 48s, 40. We sold a 42 today. Mostly concealed carry handguns, honestly.
No.
Although I will say I actually did get into Kel-Tec Sub 2000s on Friday, and they were both gone Saturday morning before 9 a.m.
Oh, I saw your post. They're already sold.
Yeah, they're gone.
Holy! How long did you wait?
What's that?
How long did you wait to get them in?
Other than one I took in on I took in used like 5 years ago. Those are the only two I've ever had in the store.
Yeah.
Yeah. All of Kel-Tec stuff goes fast.
It does, which is so crazy.
Not all
Well,
of
it's
it.
because the issue is that Kel-Tec comes out with so much stuff so rarely that when it comes out, people are like, "I need it now," because they've been waiting so long to get it.
No, it's not so rarely. They come out with stuff every year. It's just they don't manufacture enough.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
No, they do batch manufacturing.
Right. So when they come out, everyone's been waiting forever for them to show
Yeah,
up.
and they only do so many. So if they make 50,000 sub 2000s in a month, they all get distributed, and then poof, they're f***ing gone till next year.
Poof. Yeah. I mean, we've talked to Kel-Tec, like we know Chad well, and basically he's like, yeah, I mean, we'll retool for a specific gun and run that through the production line, and we'll make X number of those, and then they're just gone, and we've already retooled, and we moved on to the next thing. And, dude, they've added line after line after line. Kel-Tec is just really popular.
Yes.
Except the PF9.
Which I know you hate, Aaron.
I mean, the PF9 is better than the PF11.
Not only do I hate it, I hate it so much I own one.
I mean, not all their stuff. Like they make that little. I mean, I don't know if they still make it, but like the P32, the KSG is not as popular as it was when it first came out. What is that new one? The KS7.
Yep.
I've heard a few people talk about that, but I still haven't seen one in the shop. Some of their stuff is, more popular. Some of their stuff is less popular. There's those 223s. You can get those things all day long. It's just nobody wants them.
The RDBs or the SU-16s?
SU-16s.
Yeah.
Yeah, like nobody wants that. Like even like a better version of that, which is the SIG 556, which they don't make anymore. I've had one of those sitting around in the shop at a fairly decent price. It's not great, but But it's been sitting there for 6 months, and people rarely look at it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Nick, why are you offending people over in the chat?
Why not? Why wouldn't I be? Who's offended? I don't see anybody offended.
I spent my entire morning fixing a $20,000 dust collector.
Oh,
so
man.
That was my day.
That sounds exciting.
Yeah, we burned up an air compressor.
Oh.
Like straight melted the motor.
What?
Why would you do that? That sounds like
apparently
a bad idea.
they're not supposed. Air compressor motors are not supposed to run nonstop.
What were you doing? Beat blasting or something?
No, there's a no. We have like a big air compressor. It's like a 80-gallon stand up for like our work stuff. But there's a little air compressor. It's like a 20-gallon, and it's back behind the trap. And the dust collector has these filters, and the filters have an air cleaner inside them. I forget what the actual name of it is. So like every 5 seconds, there's 4 filters, and and it rotates around each of them. And every 5 seconds, you hear like a tunk, tunk, tunk on the outside, and it's well, no, it's what it's supposed to do, and it's blowing air inside the filter, cleaning the filter off.
Huh.
So there's a water separator in line with the thing. Well, that thing up, so it just emptied the tank, and then it was just an open line. So the air compressor kicked on and just ran nonstop for who knows how long, because
Nice.
it's not like we can hear. Because it's not like we can hear it over gunfire and the exhaust fans, and it's not like we can not hear it going tonk 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 outside when we're in the building. So a couple days ago, we noticed it wasn't making the noise, and then there was like a pressure, like it's like how easily the air flows through the filters, and it was like just redlining, and I'm like, oh, that's great. So I ran to Home Depot, got an air compressor, ran inside, hooked it up, and let it, and it wouldn't charge. So then I found out, okay, now we got a leak in the line. So then I got to rebuild this water separator, and then finally I did that today. Let it charge up, crack the line open. You could hear it gas up the whole system, no leaks, and then after like 30 minutes of running, that red line was back in the green. I'm like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, no doubt. That's awesome. Earlier when Savage,
that's how I got my towel.
And that's how I got my lead poisoning.
Right. Earlier,
my axe.
Earlier, Savage said beat blasting, but I thought he said beat blasting, and all I could think of was like. Anyway,
so you set the
Jeremy's redlining doing that.
You set the media on a table, and then you put the beatboxer in front of the table with the media. And when he beatboxes, he does it so powerfully that it actually shoots the media at the object, and it brings the surface into a uniform.
It's more like this.
And now,
a TED Talk.
my next number.
What the?
Wait, did it say TED or TEDx?
It was TEDx.
Okay, that explains so much more.
It's like Savage is a communist. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, so Jeremy has lead poisoning. Jeremy sells lots of concealed carry stuff and Kel-Tec stuff when he can get it. Aaron, is this correct? We're skipping this?
No, that was from last week.
Okay, that's what I thought. Thanks for... No, we're good.
Well, I don't know. I never mind.
Anyway.
I'm not going to throw someone else under the bus when someone calls me out.
Savage.
What?
It's okay.
Hey, Ron, what you gonna do now? Talk about lifestyles. Brought to you by Brownells.
Oh, yeah.
Now, who was throwing who under the bus earlier when it came to show notes? And guess.
No, that's not what I was talking about. It's just the fact that the show notes are never really 100% done when you do them these days.
Oh. Wow.
I mean, it said 309 at the top for like, I guess, 2 shows. 2 shows. So I changed it to 311 at the very, very top. Because it was like 309.
I didn't even notice that. I've never looked at
I
that
did.
before in my whole life. Savage
what I
Savage
do.
rebuttal.
All right, that's a good point.
But I wasn't going to say anything. I wasn't going to say, dude, I was going to let it go. But I mean, you
Dude,
know,
you're
we
like-
talk about it all day, Simon.
You remind me of Zaf Brannigan. He totally would have just said that.
Sean's just trying to put it on anyone else.
Brownells.com is the place that you can go for all kinds of good stuff. These sites right here, they came from Brownells. These sites of
They are
Aaron's.
cool. Ameriglow.
Yeah. I actually have these on several guns. So here's the thing. So normally I like to get the True Glow, the TFOs.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is that if you have an RMR cut, oh God,
They're too long.
they're too long and they actually get in the way of the RMR or the whatever optic you happen to put on there.
Yeah.
And so the Ameriglows, they're actually nice and small, so they work just fine on there. So I've actually ended up having to buy 3 or 4 sets of these. And one of the cool things is, if you use the Edge program, it's like Amazon. Why, Nick?
I don't know.
It's like
Because why not?
Operation Boxing Gloves.
I didn't say anything mean.
If you actually, what was I talking about?
If you get
the Edge
it's like,
program.
yeah, it's like, Amazon Prime, but for gun parts. You know, Brownells also has a bunch of really awesome titanium AR parts.
Dude,
and I've been slowly acquiring them. I recently found out that they have a titanium gas block. And before I had no interest in a titanium gas block, but now I have all these other titanium parts, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I feel like I need that too.
You kind of got to get it.
Is it adjustable though?
It is.
Ooh.
It's also
Wow.
like $400. It's not actually $400. It's like $150 or something.
Yikes.
It ain't cheap.
Okay, wow. That's ridiculous.
Is it though?
I mean, it's your budget. You can use it.
I mean,
however
it's
you want.
titanium and it's also adjustable.
Anyway, check out.
Is it a key adjustable or is it a switch adjustable?
It is a. I think you've got to put a little wrench in there.
So, like an Allen key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. That is Brownells. Brownells.com. BROWNELLS.com is the place you can go. And if you go to WeLikeShooting.com/sponsors and click Brownells, we actually get credit for it. And that helps us remain amazing in the eyes of Brownells. So we would appreciate that. Anyway, Aaron, what's your topic this week?
The importance of med classes, and the reason why I bring this up is obvious. There's been a lot of shootings going on lately, and I always defer back to the Pulse nightclub shooting, where people who passed away could have survived if someone was available with some sort of medical knowledge and could have stopped the bleeding. Now, I know, Sean, you do a lot of med classes around the country. And I thought this would be a great opportunity for you to start setting some dates, man.
Show your stuff.
I know people in Michigan have been the Michigan meat ponies have been asking me, like, when's Sean coming back? Because it's important to them, and it's important to me. Whenever you do a med class, I like to sit in and just get a refresher, because if you don't use it, you lose it, kind of stuff. So I think it's important to stay on top of it.
Yeah, honestly, I needed a break. So I haven't taught any for about a month and a half, maybe almost 2 months. Just literally, I was traveling so much, doing med classes everywhere. I needed a break. I'm ready to get back into it. I was going to post today. I'm going to do a couple classes here locally. And yeah, man, it is so important. And now I do the Civilian Medical Podcast as well, which is available on the Firearms Radio Network with Skinny Medic every week. And it's, we talk about this stuff, and God, it's just so hard. And we talk about the wounding epidemiology of active shooters in civilian environments. I know I've talked about this in other places, but in TCCC, one of the big things is appendages and injuries like that. And we talk about wound packing and tourniquets, but the bottom line and the thing that no one really talks about a whole lot that we're trying to bring to the forefront is that wounding epidemiology is different in the civilian world, because bottom line, we're not wearing plate carriers when we go to the grocery store or anything else.
Speak for yourself.
And because of that, I am changing my class up. I've been doing it for quite a while. I've been doing a lot of the research, or at least reading a lot of the research to figure out where people are getting hit and where they're dying from, so that I can focus more on that in both the scenarios of my class and the learning portion. But the bottom line, guys, is this world is a scary place. As Jeremy always says, and as has been proved time and time and time again, we live in the safest time that we've ever lived in as human beings. Right, Jeremy?
Correct.
Yeah, without question. And we see that. And Neil deGrasse Tyson, who, by the way, is anti-gun, but he's not anti-common sense, as we found recently, because he posted on Twitter, and he's eaten a lot of shit because of it. But let's not forget that he is 100% anti-gun, anti-2A. But he has some common sense, and I think that's the difference here. I don't want everyone to be pro-gun in the universe. I want people to be pro-common sense and actually stop letting emotion rule the day. But ultimately...
Well, let's not use common sense, so let's use logic, because common sense infers the bandwagon fallacy.
That's fair. That's fair. Logic, I think, is a much better way to propose that. But yes, medical is so desperately important, and not because you might be involved in an active shooter tomorrow. Maybe you will, maybe you won't, but the chances are 0.000004% of being involved in an active shooter. And if you listen to the show in the car and you look down or you laugh too hard, well, you're probably more likely to be in a distracted driving incident than you are an active shooter, just because those things happen so very much. Medical is critically important because bad things happen sometimes, but also just sometimes you see car accidents. Like, since I've been certified and been teaching, I see car accidents often. Savage.
Yeah, in fact, this weekend, my wife and I were driving to an art festival in Idaho, and 2 cars in front of us, a Prius, guy was looking down to adjust his AC. The cars in front of him stopped. He didn't. He did. He ran into the back bumper of this car, flew up, did a 360, and landed back down on his wheels, with the front end, totally crushed the front end. We ran up to him, and he was still sitting there holding the wheel, not completely processing what had gone down. We checked him over. He didn't have any visible injuries that we could see, and he seemed to be fine later on. But it happens literally all the time. I mean, it was just this weekekend.
Yeah, man.
One's gonna wait. Whoa.
So he didn't have any clear external injuries. So did you give him some?
No, and
sir, you look fine. Stab.
The fire department got there and checked him over, so they made sure that he didn't have any internal injuries as well.
Good, that's awesome.
No one's gonna jump on the fact that Savage went to an art festival.
No, that seems pretty par for the course.
Yeah. Wait.
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with being cultured.
Hey.
You fucking swine.
Okay, hippie.
What kind of art festival was it, Savage?
It was called Art on the Green. It happens in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, every year.
Okay,
wait.
Art festival's fine, but going to a place called Coeur d'Alene, you.
Coeur d'Alene. What's wrong with Coeur d'Alene?
Idaho.
Yeah,
you could drive to Idaho, but you can't drive up to see us when we're in Washington.
It's literally
I don't want to hear it. I do not want to hear it. You can drive to a different state and go look at someone else's art.
See,
you can't hang out with your friends. That's all right, man. That's all right.
What Savage really should do is move to Coeur d'Alene, because it's like the other side of Spokane. And then he could live in Idaho, and he wouldn't have to deal with all the stupid gun laws.
That's true. That's absolutely true.
That's very true.
Anyway,
there's a lot of racist.
Dude, wasn't there a Coeur d'Alene mixer?
Med classes. That's Catalina. Med classes are hugely important. And if you have not gotten med training, you're f***ing up, man. Actually, in September, Skinny Medic is coming to Colorado. We're going to do a joint class. I'm going to do a class this month as well. And it is important, man. Not just because something crazy may happen, but because things happen every single day. Like in Washington, I skinned my knee real bad.
Oh, my God. Are you still... So you remember when Eric S. posted that picture where he was like, yeah, I caught a ricochet or something at the range, and I had to go into the aid station, and he took a picture, and I was like, I don't know there was like a tiny little nick. It looked like he had walked through some brush and it scratched him.
All right.
That's essentially what you've been doing for the last 2 weeks.
Now, I will also say that we rubbed lemon, lime, and whiskey in my wound, so I think we're fine.
Because you said to.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think it's clean now.
Yes.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Exactly.
You're welcome.
Exactly.
In a year, he's going to be like, remember that time I skinned my knee?
Exactly.
Right, because I fell down because I don't know how to walk.
Yeah.
After I get hit in the face with a can. Frank Noster.
Dude.
You're the only person that fell down, okay? I just want to point that out. You're the only person that fell down.
I saw in the video that I tried to spit on you.
Yes. I don't remember that either. I was like, what?
Dude, I
did try to push you into that pool, though.
I was like, what did I just do?
Sean, when that horrible injury on your knee heals up, we should compare knee scars.
I mean, okay. I'm okay with that, actually.
Remember when Nick thought he knew how to drive a motorcycle, but apparently he doesn't know how to drive a motorcycle?
I do. I
yeah.
do.
Yeah, and now he whines about it.
I like going fast.
All right, now it's time for Going Ballistic, guys. This is it's going to be a tough one to talk about. Savage, why don't you go ahead and start us off?
You know, it's been a week. It's definitely been you know what? I'm going to start with the good news. The good news, at least what I think is the good news this week. So, NYSRPA, they laid down a serious smackdown against the New York City's arguments for mootness. If you haven't been paying attention, NYSRPA versus NYC, basically it covers...
What is NYSRPA?
New York's something Rifle Pistol Association.
New York Serpa. They carry those Blackhawk Serpa holsters.
Yeah.
Wow, it's a terrible plan.
It's
basically... Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it's weird that they don't have the definition in Reddit.
Yeah. Anyways, so there's this lawsuit been going along because New York City, for the longest time, has had this rule against anybody living within the city being able to travel to anywhere except their residence, their primary residence within the city. So basically, completely limiting people's ability to travel with firearms, unless they get permission from the city to go specifically to either a gunsmith or someplace else.
Yeah.
It's completely ridiculous.
And to be clear, Savage, that for the record, that's the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association.
Okay. Yeah, thanks. So NYSRPA, the lawyers for them, they really brought the smackdown. They basically explained in lucid detail how the city and state has been purposefully with not only the law as it stands, but also the circuit courts and the Supreme Courts and their previous rulings on the Second Amendment. So the one that I love, it says here, on its face, New York State makes clear that its conduct, product of a coordinated effort by the city and state to moot this litigation without extinguishing the city's ongoing efforts to restrict transportation of licensed handguns through the city, even when being transported to and from places where they can lawfully be possessed. In particular, the new law, which New York only put in place because this lawsuit went to the Supreme Court. The new law contains a special proviso that its transport exceptions do not apply with full force in New York City. Instead, under the new provision, a premises license issued by a licensing officer other than the police commissioner of New York, yada yada, shall not authorize transport of a pistol or revolver into the city of New York in the absence of a written authorization to do so by the police commissioner of that city. The city also didn't address, basically, you can only go in their new law, the new law they just passed, you can only go directly from your house to another house or from your house to a shooting range. They don't have any carve-outs for if you have to, get gas or get food or make any kind of stops along the way. So they basically left a lot of other areas where people could get nailed and put in jail. So the city's law basically doesn't adequately cover their mootness claim. And NYSRPA just took them to town. They just completely demolished the city and state's argument, and they show that they're basically trying to upend the court and could come back around and reinstate the laws afterwards. And just filed 4 hours ago, New York City filed their brief, and they just, as far as I'm concerned, they themselves. They said that the former rule, the rule that they just changed, did not violate the Second Amendment. First of all. Secondly, they said the former rule did not interfere with the petitioner's Second Amendment rights at all. And they said that in any event, the former rule satisfies the means end scrutiny. So they're basically saying, we were right, we've been right this whole time, suck it, to the court. Well, so I think this could be a major slam dunk for us, especially because basically they didn't address any of the merits of the case. They just said what we said still stands true no matter what, so that's it.
Yeah, and honestly, they got one of the best Second Amendment, the best Supreme Court attorneys that's still practicing. So yeah, I agree. I think they lose this one as far as the mootness goes. Next story, man, tough one. But let's talk about some of the mass killings that have gone on.
Well, it's not just like some. There's been a fucking lot, like stupid god amounts. So the first one took place in El Paso. 20 people killed, 40 injured by just a massive piece of who posted his little, this is why I did it. And the top, part of it was like, oh, well, I was inspired by the Christchurch shooter and we have to start taking care of all these Mexicans and stuff like that. This racist is just getting out of hand. Jeremy, I know you're going to go there. Oh, it's not any more worse than it has been before. Well,
it's true. It's true.
I have to disagree.
No, hold on a second. Logic, like it is not true. It is not.
Okay, how many more shootings that are basically, where these people publish racist manifestos? How many more of those have to happen before you say, well, maybe some is getting out of hand and we need to start reeling in a lot of these racist?
Whoa.
When they're state-sponsored lynchings like the KKK did in the South around the turn of the century, when they literally killed hundreds of people yearly, not just.
It's got to be a whole state. Okay,
I'm saying. Yeah, I'm talking about. There was a group of people that lynched hundreds of people every year, and nobody did anything about it. And a lot of them were members of the same society, and nobody really did anything about it. It was way worse than it is now.
But I'm not saying it's worse. I'm not saying it's
exactly
worse.
What you're
saying. I'm saying it's getting out of hand.
Well,
let's be very specific about that. I said it's getting out of hand.
You did say the words. It's getting worse.
Yeah, you did.
It's getting worse than it has been in the last at least 20 years.
But wait a minute.
I mean,
what's getting worse? Like racism? Racism's always like go to a prison and see how it's bad.
How many people died when the guy was on in the Texas clock tower and shot people there? I mean, there has been mass shootings going on throughout history.
There's been mass shootings, but not so many in recent history that have been specifically motivated by racism. I know Christchurch wasn't in the U.S., but it definitely had its influence, especially considering this guy. And I'm not.
So is it any better? Is it any better when it's influenced by identity politics?
No,
or when it's influenced by radical progressivism, or when it's by religion, or when it's by racism. It's no better or worse, and racism isn't worse in this country than it ever has been.
I'm not saying that it ever has been. It's worse than it has been in recent history.
But wait, I feel like you're drawing a correlation or a causation.
I'm not drawing any causation. I'm saying that racism is starting to get out of hand, and people are getting more and more bold with these kind of acts that are motivated by these reasons. I think it's a terrible thing. I think we need to do a better job of combating racism and extremism in all forms. And hey, the guy who was up in Ohio, Dayton, that guy was on the left. There's no debating that. That guy was on the left, and he had serious mental issues.
So was the guy in El Paso.
Hold on a second. We are way all over the place here. Savage, what do you think we should do about racism? You're proposing that something needs to be done. I would like to know what you propose needs to be done.
I mean, it's like, it's back. Sorry, go ahead.
The problem with racism is it's not something you can just wash away. It's something that's ingrained in people.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's a generational thing. And I understand what you're saying, Savage. And I do agree to an extent that I do see a lot more people being more openly racist or bold in their personal beliefs of of being not nationalism, but more but less inclusive, more xenophobic. I do see that happening, and I do agree with you there. But how do you stem it? That is a great question. How do you stop people from expouting their internal beliefs and not having a filter?
Right. And I'm not saying I have an answer, and I don't think Jeremy is exactly going to be the moral compass on this one either. But I'm saying, look, this is an issue, and we have to find a logical way to deal with it. I'm not saying pass a bunch of laws,
Like what?
but hey,
Like what?
I already said I don't have the answer to this.
You just said pass a bunch of laws.
I said no. I said we don't need to pass a bunch of laws.
Okay, but
So
whoa, hold on. So how do you fix it if you don't pass laws to
you don't have to pass a law for every single thing to happen. Like organizations like cureviolence.org, they have programs in effect that send counselors out to deal with specific problem people in their communities, and they have been able to reduce homicides in the areas that they're active in by up to 56%. 78% in some cases in Boston.
You're not
Maybe we
wrong.
need to have.
You're not wrong, but that they work specifically in urban environments, and we're talking. Well, I'll just say it. They're talking about very often they are working in black neighborhoods, and they're working on de-escalation, and they're talking coping mechanisms and things like that.
Maybe something similar could be done with
in white suburban neighborhoods too.
Wherever, like not neighborhoods specifically, but what they do is they target specific individuals who are, going out and espousing violence against other people. So this isn't like going to an entire neighborhood. It's like, look, here's a specific person who's saying we need to go kill these brown people. Let's go and talk to him and intervene with him and see what we can do.
So how do they find those people? How do you discover? How do you
people in the neighborhood, social media?
Aha! So you're in favor of the TAPS Act.
I'm not necessarily in favor. I don't know about the TAPS Act specifically, so I'm not going to say I'm in favor of it.
Hey, hold up. Well, I'm not familiar with the TAPS Act.
It's pre-crime. It's pre-crime. It's using indicators like that. It's invasion of privacy to find pre-crime indicators. But I'll tell you this right now, that the biggest precursor of violence like this is previous and prior violence. And it's people who aren't actually being prosecuted to the full extent of the law when they are making these kind of things. The Dayton guy, I believe, either Dayton or El Paso, I can't remember. All these micro just sound the same to me. But one of them
blend together
had actually threatened to shoot up a school. One of them had been extremely brutal against women that had rejected him in the past.
Yes. Okay, what about this?
We have laws in place to prevent that, and it didn't work. So,
I mean, look at it this way: you used to be able to buy machine guns in this country until 1934, right over the counter. You could buy a gun without a background check up until my lifetime.
88, right?
No, without a background check.
84 or 86.
Well, 86, but it didn't get implemented until the 90s.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have a NICS system.
Yeah.
So we're talking my lifetime. You could buy a gun, it's still at a 4473, but you could buy a gun over the counter with no background check. Right? And we did not have mass shootings. Well, I take that back. We did because it was different. Like the term going postal is not a thing anymore. But they used why don't postal workers shoot up post offices anymore? Probably because we don't talk about it. And a lot of the copycat who can win the kill list thing. And honestly, that's a little bit different because you're talking disgruntled adults shooting up their workplace that they have a grievance against versus kids they're kids. They're young, they're disenfranchised young men.
Yeah, and there's definitely a lot to be said about media contagion. I
lay all of this at the feet of identity politics and participation trophies. You have an entire generation of disaffected youth that get told they're worthless or nothing because they're straight white men. And they have nowhere to go and no outlet, and nobody looks at you seriously from a standpoint. And then you get the guy in Texas who feels disenfranchised because all the people in the media are just talking about, oh, we got to do this for immigrants. We got to do this for immigrants. And he's sitting there going, what about me? I need help. And nobody wants to help him because we're going to talk about immigrants.
Yeah, but it's not all about white people. I mean, a whole lot of these mass shootings happen in places like Chicago, like my other story here, where 53 people were shot in Chicago, 7 deaths. So it's not just white people.
But that's not a mass shooting. That's a bunch of gun violence. That is a collection of gun violence in Chicago, in inner city neighborhoods where socioeconomic status causes people to go into drugs and crime because they don't feel like there's opportunity, mainly because the left has taxed them to death and caused white flight.
So you'd say some disenfranchised youth over there versus the disenfranchised youth on the.
I'm saying it's a different kind of disenfranchised youth.
Yeah, but it results in violence basically. So
it does result in violence, but it results in violence in two very different ways. One is I'm going out in a blaze of glory because I can't win this game, so I'm going to flip the table and watch the world burn. And the other one is I got to make my way in the world, and this is the only way. And the only people in my neighborhood with money are the ones slinging drugs. That's two very different outcomes to the same problem. One could be caused by lower taxes, and oh my God, now there's jobs, and I don't have to sling crack on the street to make a living. The other thing is it's a mentality after generations of you have been on welfare in Section 8 housing. That's just how it is. This is just.
But if you lower, who gets the lower taxes? Just out of curiosity,
everybody. Lower permitting, lower restrictions on businesses, make the barrier to entry so low. Anybody can open a taco stand on the corner as long as it's not making people sick. I mean, when you got to pay like what California to get a license as a hairdresser costs something like $15,000. So if I'm just going to do little girls' hair for $10 a pop, and all the little girls in the neighborhood, I'm going to do all their hair for $10 a pop, is illegal in California unless you have a hairdresser's license.
Then don't do it in then don't do it in California.
But that's what I'm saying, but they don't have the option of move unless they just walk, and then they're just going to be in Section 8 housing somewhere else. So there is the barrier to entry to run your own business.
Yeah, but you're showing one example of California. There's other states where it's
but it's all Democratic-controlled cities. It is
it's
yes,
not. Listen,
it is.
No.
Yes, that's what causes poverty. That's the downfall.
So the Democrats cause poverty. Democrats cause poverty.
Yes.
Unchecked Democratic policies ruined
Has anybody here been to the South?
California.
Right, exactly. Thank you, Savage. You're right. So, like the Republican-run South is poor because of the Democrats in the North.
The Democrats did run the South for a long time.
Eastern Washington.
Sure. Oh yeah. So now let's blame it on people who were there.
You're talking about areas with no industry that never had industry, and then you talk about a city like Detroit.
Republicans, there should be industry.
Shut up!
You shut the
up! Shut your mouth! Shut the up and listen to what the
Yeah, you got to listen. Ask a question, let him answer, and shut up.
Shut up! You had a city like Detroit that had 1.5 million people. Now they're down to less than 600,000 because you raised taxes so goddamn high. Nobody can live there. Then you start off with the South, which
that's not what happened in Detroit. That's not what happened in Detroit.
Aaron, let him finish.
Dude,
then you'll get your chance.
Okay, that's fine.
Write down notes instead of interrupting.
Go ahead. Tell me more about my backyard.
Yeah, exactly. Well, not anymore. You moved away.
I did.
Okay,
and that's what happened in Detroit was white flight. It wasn't taxes. No, it wasn't the taxes that chased the white people away from Detroit.
What was it?
It was fear of crime, fear of the riots that happened there, fear of the lack of justice that's going on. Fear.
The riots happened well after people were already starting to boogaloo.
White flight happened because of the riots in Detroit.
Mm-mm.
Okay, sure.
I actually thought that it was. Well, I mean, at least the catalyst. I don't know how long it had been burning.
And
before.
it was because, and I mean, they called the National Guard in. Everyone like this is not a safe place, and they left. Sure, there's still some gated communities down there. Sure, there's some safe places down there, and it's getting better down there. But the point was, it wasn't because of taxes that chased the people away to Detroit. It was the fact that they feared for their safety. So now it might be true in other places that taxes have ruined it, but don't stack on the fact that people's fear and misconception is what caused the issues in Detroit. But where I think we're moving way beyond the entire conversation here.
Agreed.
And what we really need to be discussing is why Savage is being an I think we can both agree on that.
Savage, you don't. Go ahead, Jeremy.
My entire point of that was you have an entire generation of disenfranchised youth with no outlet. And this is the only outlet that they see to either make a name for themselves or be known or do something, or they feel like they're a fucking soldier in a goddamn war that's not even going on. I agree
with you, Jeremy, with that. I agree with you with everything you just said.
I blame most of it on straight up identity politics and participation trophies because we don't have a generation that can rest on their own laurels. They don't know what it's like to be. Human beings like to feel like they're in control of their lives, and if they don't feel like they have any control in their lives, or they have no, what's the word?
Manifest destiny.
Well, they're not even manifest destiny. They don't control their lives. They don't control their situation in life. They have no control over where they are in life, and they'll never be able to do that. Flip the table. Watch the world burn.
All right, now, Savage, I want to go to you in 1 second. Aaron, I do also want to say that I've been watching a ton of history stuff, and one of the things I watched recently was on White Flight from Detroit, and it absolutely was because of tax burdens and permit burdens and all kinds of other things. It was the catalyst was the riots, but that fire had been burning for a while, and then that was the straw that broke the camel's back, and. It absolutely was tax burden. I actually, just to confirm my thoughts on that, I just did a Google search, and literally every article that I read, no matter what the source was, mentioned mounting crime, tax burdens, and then that the riots and the unsafeness being the straw that broke the camel's back. Now, Aaron, rebuttal real quick.
Okay. 3 things you just mentioned: the riots, tax burden, and crime. 2 out of the 3 things, or what I'm talking about, were the crime rate and the riots. The tax burden only affects people who pay taxes. You understand what I'm saying?
Cool.
And white. Go ahead. I'm not saying that black people don't pay taxes. I'm saying poor people don't pay taxes.
No, and what I'm saying is white flight is exactly what we're talking about, from people who no longer want to live in Detroit, no longer wanted to be unduly burdened by these ridiculous taxes and everything else. And they are the ones who left, and basically what you were left with was Detroit as we know it.
And what you'll find in most cities, like, again, big cities, is you have your state taxes and you have city taxes. And that's one of the things that Detroit does have, a city tax. And it's because, and it was a mega city, over 1 million in population, which has dwindled down to 700,000 or less. But the point is, it was the fear that drove a lot of people away.
But that was the final straw. That wasn't the start of it.
I agree. And not a history show, but Savage, I'd like to give you a chance to rebut on these points that these 2 gentlemen have made.
Honestly, I think Jeremy has a very good point with the disenfranchisement of the youth, and not basically having, I guess, like he was saying, not having a feeling of control or agency, I think is a better word, of their lives. And I think what that does is it causes them to fall into these pockets of extremism, whether it comes in the form of racism, whether it comes in the form of identity politics, or what have you. But we are having, and I agree with him on that point, we are having a generation of children that just are lost right now, and they don't seem to have a purpose. And maybe the solution is finding a purpose.
Savage, would you say that it's a generation lost in space with no time left to start again?
But Jack be nimble, Jack be quick.
There you go. Okay.
Now,
Jack, jump over that candlestick.
I also would like to say at this point that I don't care if this dude is a racist. It doesn't matter to me. I just assume that he's a piece of shit. He's a micro-penis piece of shit. And I don't care if he's a racist. I don't care if he believes in aliens. I don't care about any of it. He is a piece of human trash. The Dayton guy, was he a racist?
No, he was not specifically a racist.
That we're aware of. Were the 53 people shot in Chicago, were the people who shot them racists?
No, absolutely not.
I agree. So I think it's just and Savage, I respect you immensely. I want you to know that before I say this. No, I said with all due respect.
I'm going to let you finish. Hold up real quick.
This is like watching Fox or CNN or something.
This shooter had a racist agenda. This killer had a racist agenda. We know that. He also had an agenda to murder innocent people. I don't care what race those people in Walmart were. I don't care what race they were, where they were from. I honestly, genuinely don't care if they were illegal aliens or not. No one deserves to be murdered when they're at the grocery store shopping. And whether he was a racist, it doesn't matter, because it was a complete piece of shit and trash.
No one deserves to be murdered.
No one does. Well, some people do.
Well, no, that's not murder.
None of these people do.
That's not murder, though. That's homicide.
Or maybe they do, but not because of what race they are or that they were shopping at Walmart. Maybe some of them were murder. I don't know. But
God, look at how red Jeremy is around his eyes.
I know.
He was so angry.
Dude, when Jeremy was screaming, "Shut the f*** up," it was one of my top 5 favorite moments.
I got scared for a second, and then I realized that he's like 1,500 miles away, and then it was not scary anymore.
I think he's still mad.
I don't even know.
Is he muted or something? He's not even talking. He's like, "F*** all you guys."
We lost the live stream.
Yeah, we did.
Damn.
We're coming back. Maybe, I don't know at this point.
So what I'm reading right here in regards
I'm
to
just
White
like,
Flight
I'm
Detroit.
did we get kicked off of YouTube? I don't know.
Okay, we're back on.
So what I've read up, my brief moment here, is it happened mostly because of desegregation and black people moving into white neighborhoods is why white flight. That was one of the reasons why. And then white people built suburbs around Detroit so that they wouldn't have to be around black people, and that's what caused the white flight.
Well, and also taxes.
The red line law is coming down.
There's 1,000 reasons why white flight exists.
Right, but you're just bringing up one in general as it's the main one. You keep saying taxes is the reason. You said it as the one reason. I mean, you said, well, it was,
I did not say that at all.
You said it was a nail in the coffin, or you said it was the main catalyst, is what you said.
No, I said there was all kinds of that was going on.
But you said the main catalyst was taxes.
No, I did not
argue more.
Hold on, I did not say that, and if I did, I was absolutely incorrect. I'm just saying it was just a huge avalanche of different things. That the final straw that broke the camel's back was riots and fear of crime and things like that.
No, you know what? You guys are all wrong. Arthur is the best PBS kids cartoon.
All right.
Oh, wow.
What I really hoped we would talk about is that these things are, very interesting. So in El Paso, 20 killed, 40 injured. In Dayton, they keep saying it was at a mall, right?
The Dayton one, yes.
El Paso was Walmart.
No, the El Paso one.
No. Wait, sorry.
It was a Walmart that was like attached to a mall or something.
El Paso was Walmart. Dayton was at a bar that was in a mall.
Yes.
But it was like 1 a.m.
It was a bar in a mall? I thought it was a bunch of bars and restaurants.
And let's see. And then in Chicago, 53 shot. In Chicago, 7 deaths. It's crazy. And it's about to be a really crazy time. And this is what I care about the most is that, Trump has come out and said a couple things. I actually haven't confirmed what he said so far, but I think it's your next story, right?
Yeah. So last night after the shootings, Trump made an announcement that he was going to come out and stand and make some changes, basically. And for the longest time, I know we've said it here, is that Trump has never really been a supporter of the Second Amendment. He's definitely used the Second Amendment vote. He's banked on that, and he's been wishy-washy. Came down on bump stocks, came down on whatever else. He's really looking. He just wants to vote, and he wants to get some support from the left. So he's saying, okay, well, let's start passing some laws. So he came out today and he said, so he wants to use social media assistance in finding mass shooters, and he's because I don't know, maybe he's taking a page out of Wayne LaPierre's book, and he's blaming violent video games because, as we all know, violent video games cause violence or some like that. He came out with some mental health recommendations, but the big ones, the big red flag is that he's endorsing red flag laws or extreme risk protection orders, which completely circumvent any kind of due process. He said death penalty for mass shooters, which I am not against at all. But then he also headed towards an expanded form of background checks. Now, late today, he made a statement that he's going to do whatever he can as far as executive orders are concerned so he can bypass Congress completely. And that's where starts getting crazy. He did this with bump stocks, and there's a menu of what potential options that he could pull from, what he can do from the executive power. So what they've listed here on Politico.com that he could possibly do are enforcing mandatory background checks for customers of gun sellers who deal beyond a certain annual threshold, increased fines for gun manufacturers who circumvent existing regulations, which was like, who the fuck is that?
What does that mean? Yeah.
Yeah. Then he wants to establish a lengthier cooling off periods for gun buyers and eliminating loopholes that in some cases allow individuals convicted of domestic abuse to purchase firearms. I'm not aware of that loophole unless they're talking about the boyfriend loophole.
I don't even.
There are words for that. I don't know.
I'm like, can you even pass a NICS check if you have domestic violence conviction on your record? No.
You should not be able to.
No, I don't think so.
Because you won't. Yeah, federally, you'll never be able to do it.
So, the fact that he's looking into doing stuff beyond Congress is, should be worrying all of us, because it's not just setting the precedent. He's already set the precedent with bump stocks. He's going beyond it and just tacking on top and on top and on top. It's just the situation where if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. And because this guy is a Republican president, that's giving him the basically the cover from the right to do this. And we're getting more restrictions potentially under him than we have under previous presidents like Barack Obama. And, our only hope at this point is that the Supreme Court takes on NYSRPA and they rule for procedural rulings that will help lower courts or force lower courts to rule in a specific way and fight these. But it shouldn't even have to come to that. There should not be executive orders when it comes to our fundamental rights. If anything, it has to go through Congress, and at the least, there should be a constitutional. These guys should be forced to do a constitutional amendment, which would not be supported by 2/3 of the legislators in the states.
You know what? When he said he's going to do some executive orders, it scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It does.
It's terrifying.
Like, because when and this bothers me about any president who does executive orders, it bypasses the will of the people. It's his will, not our will, when they do that stuff. When it was George Bush, when it was Barack Obama, and when it's Donald Trump. It bothers me when they do executive orders. There's a reason why there's checks and balances, and this completely bypasses every check and balance that's out there.
Yeah, it's completely ridiculous, and this is the scariest part for me. But you know what? That's not even the scariest part, actually, now that I think about it.
You just said it was.
I know.
Why you got to lie to us all the time, Sean?
Because I'm Trump, apparently. So here's the part that freaks me out the worst. Like, Trump's going to do this. He's going to do what he's going to do, right? We already know we lost bump stocks because one individual was a micro piece of and now I don't know where we go from here. Sorry, I just had to formulate my thought a little bit. I don't know.
Like I said,
I don't know where we go. We have Trump, who now he's going to executive order without Congress. Like, that goes against everything I believe in. The bump stock ban goes against everything I believe in. And what's our alternative, right? Like, Trump probably has a decent chance of getting elected, I would think, before this. But if he does this and every gun owner every woke gun owner goes against Trump, what are we? We're just going to splinter our power as a voting bloc. And so a bunch of us, like all of us and all the people that listen to our show and all the people that listen to the Firearms Radio Network and everybody who watches the big guys on YouTube, like, if we all just start going against, like, where we take that sliver of power away from our voting bloc and we vote for somebody else and Trump doesn't win and a Democrat comes in, I feel like I have never felt more conflicted in my entire life. And I have felt very conflicted about elections in the past couple, because now, I voted Libertarian before I voted for Trump. And I knew. I was like, I'm throwing my vote in the trash can. I know this, but I'm doing it on principle. And then Hillary and Trump came, and I was like, well, this time I don't think I can go by that principle. I think I have to vote for the one that gives me. I have become a one-issue voter without question. But now with Trump doing what saying what he's saying, and it remains to be seen if that actually goes anywhere, or if he's just going to if he's just going to talk the talk but not actually walk the walk. I don't know. So if he does this and suddenly all the people like us, the millennials, if you will, Aaron,
right,
man, like, where do we go? Like, then a Democrat wins, then Elizabeth Warren or Kamala Harris, or I don't know what these idiots' names are. One of them wins. Joe Biden, biggest dumbass on the earth. One of them wins. Then where do our gun rights go? So I don't know what to do at this point. Like, I want to all over Trump and be like, dude, like this guy has us more than anyone else has us in a long time. But at the same time, I'm like, holy if we start doing that, if we splinter all the people that listen to the show and all the other YouTube guys start all over it as well, like where do we go? And I've never been more conflicted because I'm like, no, this abuse of executive power cannot stand. But at the same time, I'm like, holy what do I do? And I'm just saying that I have this.
Be careful what you say because you might get hit with some red flag laws there, Sean.
Yeah, right.
And that's the thing, too, which
Sean,
I said earlier.
Disenfranchised?
Are you a white micro male?
I am not.
Well, but like I said earlier in our Slack group, I'm like, if the red flag laws go into effect and people realize they don't work, what else? What are they going to take from us next? You know, it's just another piece of the cake that they take from us, and then we don't get back.
Yeah,
and let's keep slicing it away until we can't have guns at all. Is what's going to happen. That's what their goal is.
And I guess the point that I was trying to make is at this point, what I am a single issue voter. Like I used to be very anti illegal immigration, and that was a very important hot button issue for me. But I was also guns. But I now have become so much Second Amendment voter. Like whoever is going to be best for the Second Amendment is who I'm going to vote for. But now I'm being put in a situation where what is more important, being a Second Amendment voter or being an entire constitutional voter, or being an entire our form of government voter, which is what I feel like Trump is putting me in a place that I have to choose between the Second Amendment or all of them.
I agree, and it's the rock meet hard place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Get ready for the boogaloo.
You know what my big fear of the boogaloo is Jeremy's so pissed off. But from the earlier conversation, he's going to come to my house. Come after your ass.
Dude.
I think yelling at me the entire time. Shut up!
We need to have Hawaiian shirt day. I don't get the
Hawaiian shirt thing.
Neither do I, but just go with it. I don't understand half the that I hear all the time. I don't know. What Nick, what's the Hawaiian shirt thing?
I believe it's a reference to the fact that a lot of the like tactical Timmies and stuff are really into Hawaiian shirts right now.
Because Magpul put out Hawaiian shirts?
Maybe. Because of the guys like Grand Thumb.
Well, I do have a Hawaiian shirt, so I'm going to wear it tomorrow. How about that? Maybe, if I remember.
How about that?
I'm kind of drunk, so I probably won't.
I used to have a Hawaiian shirt, but I grew up.
All right, get this away from me. All right.
Wow, okay. I guess I'm done with that, too.
So I do want to say, like, people who shoot innocent people, and man,
and people who make laws that don't care about the people that the laws affect.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Jeremy, any last words? I'll let you end it.
Kill a commie for mommy.
All right, there you go, guys. Good discussion. I'll let that go on for an extremely long time, just because I thought that it's important to hear all the aspects. And look, Savage, Aaron, I don't always agree with you guys, but I do respect what you have to say.
I don't.
I'm kidding, Nick.
I'm just kidding.
It's worth saying.
I like you guys. I just want you to know that, all of you.
All right, good.
Oh, I appreciate that. I like Jeremy, so he doesn't hit me. He lives pretty close to me, actually.
He does. This is where we talk about the Sonoran Desert Institute, sdi.edu, gunsmithing, all kinds of other stuff. Go check them out and let them know We Like Shooting sent you. Even if you don't want to sign up, if you're just curious about their build classes or anything like that, sdi.edu. Jeremy.
What?
It's time for you to read the reviews.
I didn't even get... There we go. The Danger of WLS by thread count 100,000. 5 stars. Problem with WLS is that it's like a drug. I listened once and I was hooked. Maybe it was the Sean conducted the interviews.
I think you meant the way.
Maybe. Or Aaron's comedic timing and dropping one-liners. Maybe it was Nick's.
Never mind. He's retarded. Continue on.
Maybe it was Nick's amazing blandness or dry humor or Jeremy's sandpaper-like approach to being human. Be careful, people, because the first hit is free.
Wow.
Savage, I'm sorry. Wow. That's just so mean. Thread count 100,000. Savage exists. Next
I
review.
just had an ND by OG Cowboy, 5-star.
It's Aaron.
I just had an ND in my ear because of this amazing show. Love the cast. Sean is like Ben Cartwright from Bonanza. His leadership brings the group together. Savage is like the Cartwrights. Cook, hop, sing. You go, girl. What? Jeremy is the host of the group. Big, dumb, and so full of happiness. Aaron, being a Jew, ran everything behind the scenes because this is Hollywood. I kid. Aaron's not a real Jew. He is poor. And Nick, my favorite out of everyone on the show, he would be the map that gets burned before each episode. Because he is so full of knowledge and information, like a map, but he gets burnt to death.
Wow.
Because that is what I'm going to do when I find him and wear his charcoal skin like a jacket. Keep eating,
right.
buddy. I'm a big guy as well.
This just gets weirder as it goes.
Damn it. Yeah. Anyway, next review.
David E. recommends We Like Shooting, a show featuring the hashtag SSB ATM with ears, Sean, a man 2 cheeseburgers away from a fatal heart disease, Nick, a man who wants your wife as much as he wants your gold, Aaron, a living embodiment of gun knowledge and hate personified, Jeremy, and a stand-in substitute.
Stunt.
I mean, let's be honest, my is not that small.
Oh, wow. Mine is.
Thanks, Sean. Wait, what?
But in all seriousness, one of the best gun podcasts out there, full of tons of humor, insight, and free of politics. Well, maybe not today.
What?
Something that's endemic in many others. P.S. Sean needs his Glock 43 chamber adjusted to fit 33-round magazines, if you know what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying, and I disagree with you fully.
You're saying it's already not.
Wow. All right, that'll do.
Put a drum mag in there.
or just a drum.
All right, that'll do. Like a bass drum or a snare drum or what?
No, 55.
I'm one of those ones that guys walk. Yeah, boom, boom.
That's great.
Yeah.
Hold on, Nick's playing this video so I can watch it. I'm going to live tweet it.
You're going to live tweet it?
No.
I got so mad I'm yelling at you to shut up and I forget my baby's over there sleeping.
Dude,
It's not why it got so quiet, because Jeremy had to
wait, like literally in the room with you?
No, but like
Yeah.
our bedroom on the other side of that wall.
Did your wife text you and be like...
You angrily?
Thank God it's a big house. No, she did not text me.
So slow.
I was like, play it.
I'm trying. The computer's hot. It's being slow.
It's so funny because I saw Jeremy like look like he was texting, and I was like, oh, he's in trouble. All right, so let's start to wrap this thing up while Nick's video... Jesus.
I know.
What is this, like a 486?
It's because I had it plugged in, and this is the wrong charger.
It's the Commodore 64. You have to plug the screen into your TV.
Oh, nice. Let's wrap this up. There's a place you can go, love WLS. Aaron, what are the 4 things you can do there? Or you know what? No, I know Aaron knows. Savage, what are the first 2 things you can do there?
First 2 thing is you can become a Patreon.
That's one.
Yes.
That's one thing, yes. And
That's one
Patreons, Aaron, what do Patreons get?
They get access to our Facebook page, which is pretty freaking fantastic. It has tons of secrets that only you will learn once you become a Patreon. And you also get the unedited, unbleeped show, which is pretty. And finally, you get the once. Yeah, dude, like what's in your mouth? Shut up.
Nobody
also,
says it.
And also, you get the podcast, which comes out, which is like Jeremy Rant times 10.
Yeah, that is 100% true. Okay, Savage, that was one thing. What's the next thing?
You can buy stuff. We have a store. There are things in that store. Buy the things from the store and put them in your home.
That is true. Like this hat, like this shirt. Oh, no, you can't get this shirt, but you can get this hoodie. You can get Savage's shirt. Aaron, Superman shirt? What is
Super
that?
Youper. This is UP of Michigan.
Oh, nice.
So I'm a Super Youper.
Good job, man. So Savage, that's 2 things. What's the next thing?
our rewards program. Become a rooftopper right now. You can get all kinds of points. Those points get turned into WLS swag and prizes.
And you know what's f***ed up is I can see Savage reading directly off his screen now. He's cheating.
God, Savage, why?
Because why not?
Is it because the bread line? That's why.
What's the last thing, Savage?
Last thing is support our sponsors. We have a number of fantastic sponsors, people and companies that have helped us come to where we are today. If you could help us out by helping them out, we've got lots of different discount codes. You can take those codes, go to their websites, and save a ton of money on buying cool.
All right, sounds good. Those are the 4 things. LoveWLS.com is the place you can go. Join a gun-related advocacy group such as the FPC, GOA, or Second Amendment Foundation. I got to say that FPC announced some great news today. Our good friend Adam Kraut is now the Director of Legal Policy for the Firearms Policy Coalition, Firearms Policy Foundation. That's good news. I know a lot of the other YouTube guys are doing GOA, but I'm sorry, I don't love them yet. I haven't seen enough action out of them. But FPC, I'm pretty excited about. Second Amendment Foundation, Alan Gottlieb has been doing great work for a very long time. Join them, but get involved locally. Here's the thing. The Bill of Rights, the Second Amendment is an individual right. Don't sit on your ass and expect people to do all the for you. It's an individual right that needs to be fought for by the individuals, which is us, which is you, which is everyone who hears our voices here. Very, very important. Get involved locally.
That's what we lost in this country is individualism.
I could not disagree more. Or I could not agree more. Jesus, don't yell at me to shut the up. I'm so sorry.
I'm going to yell at you, man.
Yell at him.
Do it.
I agree. I'm so sorry. But yeah, Jeremy's right. Get involved. And if you're not involved and you want to complain online, just shut the up. Like, turn off your computer because you don't deserve the rights that you have if you do not fight for them. We always give out the suicide prevention line just in case, and that number is 1-800-273-8255, 1-800-273-TALK, or you can text 741-741, and they will be able to help you out and get you some help. I mean, honestly, sometimes we all need it, and if you need it, go ahead and get it. We're here live every week on Monday and Wednesday night, but we're on demand every single day. Go to WeLikeShooting.com/show to subscribe, and as we always say, hey guys, thanks for watching. Honestly, thanks for listening. Get some medical training. Super f***ing important, right, Aaron?
That's right.
But
Super.
Most importantly, both with your guns and with your mouth, shoot straight. Shoot straight. All right. So I've got several show titles here. I've got The Dangers of Being Stoked. I've got Beat Blasting. I've got the Coeur d'Alene Wine Mixer, and I've got STFU, exclamation point.
It'd be Coeur d'Alene, not Coeur d'Alene. COEURD, ALENE.
Coeur d'Alene.
Coeur d'Alene.
What, did I say Coeur d'Alene?
Yeah, you said Coeur d'Alene.
I'm drunk, Savage.
Well, let's just forget that one altogether. Screw it.
It's just too...
Yeah, it's too hard to spell.
Aaron doesn't like it because it has an apostrophe in it.
It does, and it'll screw everything up. Stoked is what it will be.
Dangers of Being Stoked?
What about
Yes.
shut the f*** up?
I like shut the up. Yeah.
STFU.
Yeah.
All right.
What about STFU, STFU, STFU?
Okay. I'm okay with that. I don't know. I kind of like the dangers of being stoked.
I'm stoked about it, to be honest with you.
Are you stoked, Aaron? Are you so stoked right now?
I am.
All right, let me figure out how to stop streaming.
Are you guys going to that party later? Oh, man, I'm so stoked.
Yeah. Guys, I just found $10. I'm stoked for like 3 days.
Did you think that show was worth $1? Help the cast by visiting lovewls.com.